Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Game Junk Podcast, episode 170, recording on Sunday, October 29th, 2023. My name is Frank.
My name is Sean.
And my name is Andrew.
And this week we'll be discussing the Xbox Partner Preview showcase video, whatever we're calling it, that aired earlier this week. We'll be going over all the games in there and talk a bit about what we played, including Alan Wake 2 and Ghostbusters, Rise of the Ghost Lord, and maybe some MetaQuest 3 talk. I'm not going to say who bought it, but someone did. Someone bought a MetaQuest 3 on this podcast.
You playing Cat Quest 2? Is that where that little slip-up came from? Oh, brutal.
All right, let's get right into the Xbox Partner Preview. It was short, around 28 minutes, and we're going to go in order of what was shown. And the start was Yakuza Like a Dragon, although I didn't see the word Yakuza in the title. I know it's Yakuza. I assume that's part of the title. And then Infinite Wealth. I'm sure I've heard about this game before. Or is this a new offshoot of Like a Dragon?
Yeah, I think it's either like an expansion or side tangent from a side tangent, because Like a Dragon is a spin-off of Yakuza.
Right.
And then I think this is like a spin-off of the Like a Dragon.
But wasn't there also a previously announced Like a Dragon game as well? That's a different...
I think it just came out, actually.
Shinzu
or something like that.
It's getting real confusing, and I haven't played any of these games, but the one that just came out, I believe, is Like a Dragon Ishin.
Yes,
which I think that's a remake of an older one. But then there's also one coming out in November called Like a Dragon Gaiden, the Man Who Erased His Name.
That's the one I was thinking of.
Which is a spin-off of Yakuza Like a Dragon. And now Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth coming out in January. Like, there's so many of these games coming out? I don't get it. But
this one's a little different from what I can tell.
But it says if this isn't a spin-off, it says it's a direct sequel to Yakuza Like a Dragon.
Okay. So I didn't play Like a Dragon. I've never played a Yakuza game. I mean, I think I have to at some point. If there's this many of them.
Yakuza 0 is amazing. I loved it. And I've been trying to get back into, so the second one is like Yakuza Kiwami 1 or something like that. That's the next one on my list, but they are amazing.
I'm going to say right now, I haven't played them. I don't think they're amazing, but they might be very good. And this Infinite Wealth game, I'm a little puzzled. So what they were basically showing in this partner showcase was an island. And I don't know if this is a separate thing from the main, if there's a main story or not. And this other aspect called Dundoko Island. And I don't know if it's something you do in addition to the main quests, or if there is a main quest, or if everything happens on this island. But it basically seemed like taking a franchise, Yakuza, Like a Dragon in this case, and turning it into Animal Crossing. And there was other people on the island. You could give them gifts. You could build buildings, invest in things. I'm sure collect animals, all these things that you can do on the island. And I mean, Animal Crossing is a full game. So I don't know how in depth this island is or what you can do, but it seemed like there was a lot of stuff to do. And I mean, this doesn't, I was already uninterested in Yakuza or Like a Dragon. And this genre or idea isn't necessarily for me. I'm probably less interested in this than just playing a regular Yakuza game. But I have to say, it's a pretty good idea. I don't think enough people copy Animal Crossing. Animal Crossing is fun, but it's got its own flaws, especially with online connectivity with Nintendo. And if you could just take, kind of like people said with Metroid games for a long time, just copy Metroid, change what you do in it, or change the world. I'm surprised more people don't try to directly, especially non-Nintendo companies, try to do their version of Animal Crossing. So definitely not for me. What did you guys think?
Well, I just looked up the price on Steam, and it is a $90 game in Canada. So this is not just like a DLC or some little minor offshoot game. This is a full price title. They've obviously put a lot of effort into it. So I would say this is definitely exactly what you said. I think this is a Yakuza take on Animal Crossing. And
is there a main campaign? Like, do you see?
I think there is. From what I read, this island thing is like a side thing in the game, and you can do that at your will. Like, I think it unlocks at a certain point through the game, but that's like kind of a separate thing from the main campaign.
Yeah, that's what I would have anticipated for sure. So that kind of makes sense. I would say as in taking Animal Crossing and turning it into a different franchise, they showcased combat within the island as well. So I think just adding that to Animal Crossing would make it a little more interesting if there was some more action-based mechanics to use in the simulation environment. I understand those would probably be not necessarily exactly the same target audiences as Animal Crossing, but I think it's got its own potential for sure. So yeah, definitely not a buy for me. But I don't know. We'll see how it does. I'm still confounded by the popularity of the series. Next up, Icaro Will Not Die. Actually, I want to step back to Like a Dragon for a second. And the fact that we have so many questions about, is this DLC? Is there a main campaign? All this stuff. Like, to me, that's a criticism of this showcase. Like, giving you no lead in. I don't know what I'm looking at. I have zero context for any of this stuff. Maybe I hadn't even heard of the game that was announced. Just in general, this entire showcase was very odd and attempt at like content.
One thing I was going to bring up at the end, but I might as well touch on it now, is that in between, I guess at the end of each trailer, they had this little screen that had like, if you want more interviews or whatever videos, like here's a QR code. And the whole time I'm looking at that, I'm like, okay, most people are probably watching this on their phone. Is there like an easy way to like screen cap a YouTube channel and get the QR code right off it? Like, wouldn't you have to like take a screenshot and then like feed that into a QR scanner? Like, you know, when I use my phone to open a QR code, I use the camera to take a picture of the QR code. And if I'm watching the video on my phone, I can't really use the QR code that they're showing me. I mean, I'd have to like have it on my computer and then take a picture of this QR code to pull it up on my phone. Like, it just seems weird. Like, why not?
I was watching it on
link?
My TV, but
I watched it on my computer monitor. What did you watch it on, Huck?
I watched it on my computer monitor, but I was thinking this at the same time. Like, a lot of people would not, you know, probably not have it. And like, even in the the description, there's no links to these things, the extra things. Like, why wouldn't you embed it in there? So if I was interested, I could get it in a more easy fashion. Like, why hide it behind this QR code that is a little more of a barrier to entry to get the content I want?
I think a lot of people would watch it on a screen and could use it, but I don't disagree that links are.
We're also old men. Come on. Like, what are the kids doing these days? The kids don't have a TV. They don't have a desktop computer. They got either a laptop or a phone.
Well, the good news is no one wanted to look up any more information. So it didn't matter.
I don't think that was a concern.
I would love
that may be true.
The engagement statistics on those QR codes. All right.
Should I QR them right now just to like get them one bump?
No, absolutely not. Do not let them think anyone wants to play any of these games. Next, Icaro Will Not Die. A new game, I think. I don't remember hearing about this game, and it felt like not quite AA indie type of action platformer game. And I think it looks all right, but there's just so many games now, combat-based games, especially smaller scale ones, where it's like dash mechanics and using swords. And I didn't think anything was particularly mind blowing with the art style, and this seems like a game that is gonna like come and go in a flash. And even something like Hi-Fi Rush, which had an amazing art style, like barely got the attention that it probably deserved. But this one, it seemed very out of place to me.
Yeah, they also had like all this like follower count and like hashtags all over the place. And so it makes you think the game is some sort of like meta narrative on social media, and like, you know, you're in some sort of arena or something where you get followers for how good you do or whatever. But they never really like explicitly make that tie from what I remember. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it just seems like they show all this flashy stuff with the followers and like who is Ikaru or whatever, and then they just kind of flash to the gameplay, and it's really just like highlights of features they have. So like you were saying, the dash mechanic, the jumping, the quick movement, you know, some of the combat, not very much. And I didn't really know what this game was about, to be honest. Like, you know, they just showed movement and some combat, or, you know, and some flash, but I don't know what else you do. Like, what else is this game? I don't know.
I will say it's developed by Future Lab, who created Power Wash Simulator.
Jay's interested in 3 shows in a row. Power Wash Simulator.
I mean, I think they also
Velocity series.
Velocity, right? They mentioned that in the trailer, I think. But I mean, to be fair, it's an announcement teaser, so it's, you know, they didn't show much. But I kind of thought maybe it was like a neon white type game, but I couldn't really tell. Like, according to this description on the Xbox website, it's a lightning-paced action adventure with roguelite elements. So maybe not like a speed run type thing necessarily, but that's kind of what I thought it was.
I actually really like those Velocity games. You guys played like Velocity 2X?
Yeah.
They're really good.
It's a different series, isn't it?
2X is the sequel to Velocity.
Well, they didn't make 2X.
I think
they did.
They did. I'm looking at their website. It says it's
like on Steam, unless it's not on Steam. They just have Velocity Ultra for Future Lab. And
Velocity
the publisher owns it and then gave it to a different developer.
So it says Velocity 2X on their website. It's only PS4 and PS Vita.
Then that's probably why. Okay. All right. That makes sense.
Yeah. Velocity Ultra is Vita, PS3, and PC on their website.
All right. My bad. Must have been an exclusive. So.
Yeah,
okay.
It's good.
Doesn't look great though. Velocity looks good.
That bumps it up a little bit. Plus, you know, the Power Wash Simulator. I mean, come on, how can you not?
Some pretty big credentials there. So
big time.
I smell an Xbox acquisition of Future Labs in the near future. Next up, Still Wakes the Deep, a mysterious underwater, what looks to be a walking simulator type game, adventure game.
I wouldn't say underwater. It's more like an oil rig that has water in it.
You start underwater, right? Like it was a bunch of platforms underwater, wasn't it?
I think you were just on an oil rig, like above the ocean.
I think there was some sections that you move underwater. I can't totally remember now, but
yeah, the cinematic started above. Didn't it go below the water? Like
there was a part where you swim under the water when you're in like the tunnels or whatever, the passageways.
Yeah, I see submerged bedrooms. At least the light refraction looks like you're underwater. But either way, looked okay visually. Not a lot to really gather about gameplay or what's going on. Will probably depend 90% on story. Seems like it's developed by some people who worked on some Amnesia games. And the developers of Everybody's Gone to the Rapture. So the Chinese Room. So I thought it looked okay. Definitely not on my wish list or anything I'm counting down the days until.
I was kind of interested in it. I guess it depends. I couldn't tell if there was the games they've worked on are a lot of walking simulator type things. Like you mentioned, Everybody's Gone to the Rapture. They did Dear Esther. They did Little Orpheus, which is kind of more like a platformer type thing from what I remember. But if there's kind of more like puzzly type stuff, it could be interesting. But if it's just walking simulator, I don't know if I'm that interested. But could be okay.
It to me, I thought the trailer did, give me a little bit of chills. Like I thought they did a good job of adding that horror element with this like weird, crazy characters or whatever, but they never really reveal, what this thing is or give you any indication.
I need to confirm you got the chills from this trailer.
Yeah, whatever you call it, the the horror, like, oh, I'm scared, whatever that feeling is.
I thought it meant like you were just like, sometimes you get the chills or whatever, like it's so powerful. Like it's a body reaction. Okay.
Oh no, not like that. Like not like this is the prettiest thing I've ever seen. No, more like a horror thriller vibe, whatever you would call that feeling.
All right.
Tense. But yeah, I thought the trailer was pretty good in that regard, but I feel they didn't do enough to actually tell us what the game is, really.
Are you in like mid Xbox cert right now? Is that why you're being so kind to the showcase? Because I don't get it.
No comment.
All right. Next up, RoboCop Rogue City. This game comes out this week. Is it launching on Game Pass? I don't think so, right?
No, not that I'm aware of.
We've talked about it a bit before. Sean, what do you think about this one?
I want to try this game out. There's just so many games coming out right now. This is not anywhere near the top of my list to play, but I thought the trailer looked okay. I think the thing I keep coming back to is it's first person, and like, how do you make it feel like RoboCop? Because, RoboCop is pretty slow and methodical, and that's not that fun to play as. It didn't really seem like that's what the action looked like.
There's no HUD in the video, so even those type of elements that might make you feel like I'm surprised it doesn't look exactly like first person Murphy in RoboCop.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this before, like you're saying. It feels like you're just a regular human being, not RoboCop, aside from the gun, which looks pretty good. I'll say it looks better in this footage than it has previously. And seeing some highlights from the RoboCop movies was a little more intriguing, but there was some in this, like this is stuff they released in a preview, and some of the mouth dialogue capture for different characters was like horrendous, and it was looking pretty rough.
Yeah, I mean it seems like a mid-budget type game, so
I think it might be too ambitious for its mid-budget.
I'm also a little confused or surprised by the launch date, the launch window. Like you have like Mario, like Spider-Man 2 just came out. Super Mario Wonder just came out. Alan Wake 2 just came out. Now you're going to try to drop RoboCop Rogue City in amongst that just like lineup of killers. Like, why would you do that?
I think it got delayed.
Okay. They must just be really strapped for cash, because I can't even imagine why anyone would release a date around all these games. It seems silly, to put it very plainly. But like, wait, like this seems like a perfect game to put out right before Christmas when all the big games are done. And now people are like waiting for their Christmas gifts, looking for something to play. I mean, like, how many people even know what RoboCop is that play games? Like, when was the last? I guess there was that reboot of RoboCop not too long ago. But like the original RoboCops were like early 80s, right?
Yeah, well,
or like late 80s, I guess.
Late 80s, yeah. I mean, I think there's a pretty big audience for it if they do it right. And I think there have been RoboCop games previously that weren't very good. So if this one's like decent, I think people would check it out. But I mean, there was a demo for Steam Next Fest, and I meant to to try it, and I never got around to it. So I'm curious. That's where I'm at with it.
I don't know where I'm at with it, to be perfectly honest. I'll probably end up buying it because I buy everything. And if it's movie related, Sean will talk me into it somehow. Be like, we got to try this game.
Gotta try it.
Yeah,
Exactly.
okay.
Definitely.
We'll see what
How
happens.
could you not?
Next up, Dungeons of Hinterberg, which seem to be kind of half social sim, half dungeon crawler, where there's a town and you can recruit people and talk to people and then go on dungeon crawling missions. My only word to describe this footage is yikes. This was brutal. Like, it's got its own art style, and even that art style feels like early stages prototyped version. Like, if that's the final art style, I don't think it actually helps it stand out at all. I thought it was not a very pleasant game to look at. Kind of very rare these days that I see a trailer visual in and I'm like, ugh, like, I think this looks very ugly. I think it's an ugly looking game, and the gameplay looked worse. So this game is not on my radar at all, and it's going to have to really do something to dazzle people, I think.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys looked intently at like the animations. Like, they are really bad. They are really
slow
stiff
and floaty, and
Oh yeah, like not
Just
grounded at all.
The walking animation, the most common animation in the game,
It looks so goofy,
like ass.
Yeah, and then did you see the like treasure chest like kick animation? It looks like from like Quest 64 when that like 10 poly character would open a treasure chest by kicking it. Like, what is going
Quest
on?
64 homage.
Maybe it is. Could be.
I'm watching some combat footage right now on Steam, and some of those animations actually look pretty good. Like, there's a few sword swipes that look decent enough. So it could be one of those art styles that grows on you if the gameplay is really good. But
should I capture? I got it up right now. Dungeons of Hinterberg explained QR code. Should I snap this baby up?
No. Well, it's interesting because I'm looking at some screenshots right now, and I actually think the screenshots look pretty good. But in action, it didn't really look great to me. It actually kind of reminded me of that Escape Academy game, which I didn't mind, but visually wasn't the best.
Yeah, that's kind of the problem with toon shading, is that you got to be really distinctive to set yourself up apart. Because, like, toon shading is basically just like outlining everything in a dark color, and your color palette is what you get. And and even in some of the characters' faces, you could tell that they don't have textures with like a large variation, because there's like very obvious separation between when they go from one color to the next. There's like it's not like a shadow. It's like, this is the actual color variation in the palette, I think.
Well, there's also the cell shading is very
pastel almost.
No, it's blocky and not that detailed on the characters.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
The environment is hyper detailed, so it's kind of it's borrowing some of the stuff that Sable was doing. But
yeah, Sable and Roller Drome, I really like the look of, and it's kind of like at times looks like that, but other times it doesn't. So
I just think the color palette for this game is horrendous. Like, every screenshot I look at has like 20 different colors going on, and they don't seem to play all that well together. So I don't know. This was a big yikes for me. I hope I'm wrong. That it?
I think so. I mean, yeah, social stuff
That's
I'm not that interested in either. So
yeah, and I didn't really get a sense of what that gameplay was from the trailer. Okay, next is Spirit of the North 2, which I believe you play as a fox. I think it's kind of like a puzzle adventure game. Does that sound about right?
Yes, it does.
And I didn't play the original. And did anyone check this game out?
No, it sounds real familiar, but I never played it.
It's like you play as a fox, you're an animal. It seems like something I would like. I should probably check it out at some point. But without the context of playing the first, other than playing as a fox, which is probably the hook of the game, nothing about this footage really stood out to me.
Yeah, so I think the first one was more stylistic, less realistic art style.
I don't know. I'm looking at screenshots right now. It looks pretty realistic to me.
Oh, was it? Okay. And I think the developer of this has a pretty big like developer YouTube following. Like I think he's one of those guys that started his own sort of like game developer academy or whatever you call it, like where he does the tutorial videos behind a paywall type thing. So I think he's pretty well known for people who are looking for kind of like tutorial videos on how to develop stuff in Unity. So this game might have like a little bump just from his built-in audience. But yeah, I agree. This trailer didn't show enough to really get me in the door yet. I thought it looked nice. I thought the environments looked nice, but there wasn't enough there. Obviously, they spent a lot of time on the fox fur shader because the fox itself looks good as well. But yeah, I need a little more. What the heck do you do in this gameplay?
I mean, at the very least, it's put the original back on the map for me to check out before this one comes out in 2024.
I think the original was free on Epic Games at some point. So
I feel like I've got it on one of the 1,000 digital platforms I have.
Yeah, but I mean, it looks like something I could be into. I did think like it seemed like the actual gameplay. It seemed like the camera was pulled back really far and kind of overhead. So then I didn't really feel like the visuals were really being shown off very well there. But I don't know if that was just they chose some weird footage that didn't really showcase what it is. But I don't know. Could be, I don't know, reminded me a little bit of that Rhyme game, kind of. Like Ico, games like that. I don't know if that's totally what it is, but it's the vibe I got.
I just checked on my Epic and I do have it from one of the free games. So probably you guys do as well.
Oh yeah. All right, next up, the game that I would say most people were talking about after this showcase, probably not even referencing the showcase. I saw this pop up in a lot of places, and this is some in-engine footage, I believe using Unreal 5. Does that sound right, Huck?
Yep, I think so.
For Metal Gear Solid
Triangle
Snake Eater. And
I like Triangle better.
And it looked good. People were like losing it over this footage. I thought it looked what a modern next gen game should look like. It didn't blow me away by any means, but it did look like it was staying true to Metal Gear Solid 3 in terms of the type of movement the character was doing, even the grapple. I didn't know if they were like going to reimagine the controls for this game or really push it in terms of maybe not staying as true to the original game because we have the Metal Gear Solid collection and stuff like that to have those versions. But it seems like it is a faithful remaster with very good looking graphics, let's say, but definitely not mind blowing.
What? Are you serious, Frank? There were so many animals in this trailer.
I did like the animal.
Not mind blowing.
It was
the crocodile or the alligator. I don't know, whatever one it is.
I think it's a gavial. I think that's the species of reptile. Don't quote me on that. It might be something else, but the vulture looked good.
The snake. Oh,
yeah, but I mean, it's nothing I haven't seen in another game. So, still excited for this remaster, but it was, I guess, like a check-in. Like, yeah, we're actually working on this, but even under that umbrella, not a whole lot to show. It's the first area. Everything's from the first area, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, I thought they showed. I think they were really trying to show off the water, and it flowing off of him after he had come out of the river or whatever he was walking through, kind of stuff. But I mean, none of that's crazy. I mean, we saw that in Uncharted 3 and stuff like that, Uncharted 4. But I did think it looked definitely like a much prettier Metal Gear Solid 3 version. But also, I hate Delta for many reasons. They should go with triangle. It's much better. 3-sided triangle, Metal Gear Solid 3. I know a Delta symbol has 3 sides, but Delta is the 4th letter. Alpha, beta, gamma, delta, isn't it? Beta, whatever C is, delta. Come on.
This is your point. You better
Number
be
4.
right.
I think I'm wrong now that I say it out loud, but
I don't know. I actually don't know.
But I just I don't know. I know there's a lot of people that have really strong feelings about Metal Gear Solid 3, and I think it's mainly around the end boss fight, quote unquote, the end boss fight. And I don't know if there's a lot of other like strong opinions around it. I remember playing it originally and, liking it, but not being blown away in the same way that I was blown away with like Metal Gear Solid 2.
Yeah, I agree. I've said it once. I'll say it a million times. Metal Gear Solid is better with vision cones, and being at the mercy of some of the camera positions in Metal Gear Solid 3 and using camo was not that great. Just to clarify the boss stuff, like I think it's 2 boss fights that are like have the most renown. One is the final boss fight and how the game ends, and an earlier boss fight is against a character called the End. Right? Those are 2 separate.
Right. Sorry. Yeah. That's what I was trying to say.
Okay. and both are quite good. But I mean, I'm excited for it. What do we want to take a guess as to when this game releases? What year? I'm going to say 2026.
Whoa.
Really? I think next year. I think end of next year.
Next year.
We heard about the Silent Hill 2 remake like 2.5 years ago, and we still don't have a peep from that game.
Is that game Unreal Engine 5?
I don't know, but I'm saying 2026 at the earliest, possibly 2027.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to like compare different games like that. Like I feel like Silent Hill 2 has more to update potentially just in terms of gameplay stuff, but
gonna need a year from you, Sean.
What's that?
You're saying 2024?
That's what I'm saying. Yep, 2024. But
like you want to take 2025 or
no? I want to take 2024. I'm with Sean.
Okay, we should really put money on this then. I would like to. Let's talk about this later. And you guys,
I just think like Konami doesn't have a lot of stuff going on. Like they need a game.
That's
like
why
this.
They showed it when it's not even like it's probably in the early stages of development.
I don't know if it's early stages. I think, in terms of what they were willing to show, there wasn't a lot there, but I think it's probably farther along than that.
Good. Then you have no problems betting on this. That's awesome. We'll discuss the specifics later.
Sure.
Very
Why
confident.
not?
Okay. Next up, Manor Lords, a construction management sim set in, I don't know exactly when, like old times, where you're building like
Olden times,
houses and trails and stuff like that. It's your pioneers or
the old times
of some kind. I got that vibe. Definitely not my genre. Thought it looked decent, but yeah, not moving my needle whatsoever.
Same.
Yeah, I don't have much to say. It combines intense real-time combat with immersive city building.
I guess
it's coming to Game Pass.
I didn't get a sense of the combat. It's Game Pass for PC, not
PC Game Pass. Yeah.
I don't think they showed much of the combat. There was some stuff where it was a group of soldiers and there was like lightning, I think, and there was some lighting stuff going on that looked pretty good. It looks good, but I mean, not a lot to go on. And I don't see any previous games from this developer, so we shall see. That's next year, 2024, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, the finals. Am I getting this right?
Yes.
Is that the name of this game?
Yeah.
I'm trying to find who developed this game.
So when I saw this trailer, I thought this was the game.
Ubisoft.
Is it? Yeah, the Ubisoft game. Like I thought it was, or was it the Jade Raymond spin-off studio?
Oh, Fair Games.
Fair Games.
Fair Games. That's the one I
from
thought.
Haven.
It was,
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was that.
Well,
And then
that's
it's
first
like-
party Sony. Like that's a Sony studio. Haven.
oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm looking up the developer Embark Studios, and they're doing this, and they also are working on Arc Raiders, which we saw a few years ago. It was like a third-person game that had this really cool camera angle that I was kind of excited about. I think it was during a PlayStation State of Play, but we haven't got an update on it in like 2 years. Either way, the finals seems like it's yet another entry into team-based free-to-play squad shooters. That being said, it looked pretty good. Visually, I thought it was intriguing, and for a game that I had not heard of at all before, it looked like fast-paced, fun, and something that I might actually want to try when it comes out.
Yeah, the destruction of the buildings tech was pretty impressive. And they obviously put a lot of work into that because that's the main thing. And I have some questions about like how, if there was that one scene where they kind of like blocked in, they like created a wall and then did this tech where they could see through the walls to see that the enemies were above them, and then they kind of blew out the floor and they dropped down and then did the flamethrower all on them. I don't know if you remember the scene from it, but I was wondering, like, if everyone has this like see-through walls ability, why would those people still be standing there? Like, don't you think they would be constantly using this see-through walls tech to make sure, no one's sneaking up on them and doing stuff like that? It seems kind of strange.
I mean, it could have a limited amount of uses. They could turn it into an economy.
Maybe. Yep. Yeah.
I don't know. I could see a case for it. To me, this studio, Embark Studios, they have no previous games. 2 like super polished visual games that have been announced with no release date in sight. Seems like there might be some
the finals. I mean, it doesn't. There's no release date, but the trailer was talking about open beta, and it says here closed beta kicks off October 26th. So it's at least close. Seems like.
So the studio's in Stockholm, Sweden, and I don't know. I'm getting the sense they got some serious cash. Like, I don't know where they're getting all this cash from.
The interesting thing is that on their website, which you're probably looking at, it says for Arc Raiders, it's free to play competitive third-person shooter. And for the finals, there's nothing about free to play. So I would assume this is not a free to play title. This is a paid game. Now,
no, it said on the full Xbox price website, it says free to play.
Oh, okay. Odd that on their company website, it distinctively says that Arc Raiders is free, but this is not. Interesting.
Yeah, that's weird.
All right. Anyway, it looked pretty good. The Embark Studios, everything I've seen has looked amazing. Time to see how the stuff plays. And
interesting. They're backed by Nexon.
Who's that?
They're a very big publisher out of China, I want to say.
Okay.
They do a lot of games.
Korea, I think.
Korea, sorry. Yeah, Korea. Sorry, my mistake. Not China, Korea. I think their big game was it Maple Story? Was that? Yeah, Maple Story. So I think they just made insane amounts of cash on Maple Story, and now they're just like throwing it around to try to get another hit, kind of thing.
Even their follow-up to that, I've never heard of. It's called Dungeon Fighter or Dungeon and Fighter, and it has 150 million registered players and a greater than $20 billion revenue. I've never heard of this game.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they got cash, and this is where they're putting it. And I'm pretty excited to see or play a released Embark game. They look good. Next up, Ark Survival Ascended. This isn't Arc 2, is it? Like, I don't even, this is another series. I don't understand where
Oh,
it's
is it not? I thought this was Arc 2.
I thought Arc 2 was called Arc 2 at some point.
I think this is a remake of the original Arc.
I think so, too.
Survival. I don't.
With
I'm
maybe
confused
some
as
new
well.
content, like an updated version of the game. And I've maybe tried Arc once. I do not understand its popularity whatsoever.
It's so janky.
Anytime they cut to action in this, because Arc 2 is the one with Vin Diesel in it, right? In the CG trailer.
Oh, yeah.
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 So I think this is like a remake or remaster. And when it cut to action about actually like hitting things, or they would cut for literally a second at most. And it looked like absolute ass every time they did. So I'm sure there's lots of Arc fans out there that want to play this, but I'm definitely not one of them.
So this is Unreal Engine 5 as well, I believe. And
Yeah, I think so.
it's a remake of Ark Survival Evolved, which came out in 2017. And Ark 2 scheduled for a late 2024 release at this point.
So it kind of feels like Arc refreshing for modern tech and consoles, which still looks bad. Way to go.
Yeah, these guys obviously have so much money from Arc. Like that game constantly is in top seller lists, and it's so really bad. They must just be so flush with cash that they just pay artists to make pretty stuff, and it doesn't matter if the game looks like shit because everyone wants to play with dinosaurs. I think this is crazy.
At some point, Jack Tretton was working with that studio or the publisher or something like that. The old Sony CEO. Don't know what happened with that. Okay. Alan Wake 2 was the conclusion of the partner preview. And it was an extended, first like a trailer that was cutting between story elements and then went into some extended gameplay at the end. And I have to say, the gameplay, and you fight this kind of wispy ghost creature. I didn't really know what it was, but there were some mechanics bringing back the flashlight that had me kind of intrigued. I did not buy Alan Wake 2 yet. I'm still on the fence because it's not on Steam. It's only on Epic and consoles, but I'm getting close to popping on the console version, although I hear the jump scares are abundant and might just need to put this one on the back burner for now. What did you guys think of the footage from the partner preview? And Sean, you've played it, right? So you're going to talk about it and what we played?
Yeah. I mean, I'll talk about it and what we played. But this trailer kind of put me over the edge. I was kind of like, I'm playing Spider-Man 2, Super Mario Wonder. Do I need to jump into this? But I was like, okay, I'm going to check this out.
Halloween. You need a horror game.
Exactly.
Look at that pumpkin behind him. Like, come on. So festive. Right. I thought this was a pretty freaky trailer, actually. There's a lot of little like scary stuff going on. That ghost woman you're talking about, Frank, I thought was terrifying. And like,
right, he seems like he's getting chills and terrified by everything.
Yeah, I was. I'm on edge. I'm in Halloween mode. I didn't tell you guys. I watched like Friday the 13th for the first time in ever, and
nice.
Yeah, that surprisingly a movie from like 50 years ago still scared me a little bit. But yeah, I thought this trailer looked great. I was really impressed when Dwight told me there's like some detective-y stuff in it, and I watched an IGN review. I was like, this might be up my alley. But it is I definitely, every video I've seen definitely has a lot of like jump scary things with like faces jumping out of nowhere, psychological horror type stuff going on. But this is kind of how I read this, was like the same weird stuff in Control, but taken way further in the horror jump scary type genre. And I'm kind of digging it. I like the like supernatural. It's almost like a more realistic kind of like Ghostbusters game almost, to be honest. That's what it reminds me of.
I can see that flashlight being an equivalent to like a proton pack kind of thing.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, and just like it's it seems more scary than like Ghostbusters game. I feel like Ghostbusters games rely on, well, and the genre in general rely on humor to break some of the, the scary aspects of supernatural, but this is just leaning into the supernatural horror elements much more. So I don't know. I'm not a big horror movie person, but I do love horror books, and I do I find that I can handle video games more. Like I love Dead Space, which is obviously tons of jump scares in that game. So I'm definitely, I wasn't going to buy this game, but I'm definitely closer to buying it now. And I found out also there's no physical version, which means I can't get it out of the library, which means if I want to play this, I have to buy it.
That's right.
So I'm so torn right now.
I'm just going to say Remedy seems to get a lot of praise for their narrative stuff. They do a lot of experimental narrative things, and I don't think it's nearly as good as they think it is or other video game reviewers think it is. I think their stuff is pretty terribly written. Their mixing of media with live action and pre-rendered and just in-game cutscene stuff, I don't think is very effective. It's ambitious. They're interesting ideas, but I don't think they've ever pulled it off well, including Quantum Break and some other stuff that they are pretty good at mechanics, though, going all the way back to the bullet time stuff in Max Payne. So I'd like to try the flashlight combat and see if it's a modern, interesting take on that, but they might be the most overrated developer of all time.
Whoa. Let's put some money on that.
I cannot believe the praise control got. There are so many problems with that game.
You're out of your mind over there. What have you been smoking today? You want to bet on Metal Gear Solid dates? Calling Remedy the worst developer of all time?
No, I didn't. I said they're the most overrated developer.
Most overrated developer. I'm sure I could think of some way more overrated than them.
Okay, go for it.
I'll have to think about
it. The only other one that comes to mind, Kojima is definitely up there. But that's not like one developer. Some were Konami, some were Kojima Productions. I can't think of another one that's really overrated.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's a few you've mentioned on the show. People will tell us in the comments what other developers.
Bethesda's up there.
Yeah,
but
there you go.
They make so many different genres of games. Like I like the Doom ones. Don't love the RPGs. So who knows? All right.
I would say almost any Xbox owned studio.
Yeah. Who made Hellblade again?
I thought, is that Ninja Theory? Not Ninja Theory.
Yeah, I like Ninja Theory. I didn't love Hellblade, but I liked Enslaved and Heavenly Sword when it came out for PlayStation 3. So I think they've got some good stuff. They might be underrated. Okay, let's wrap it up. Are we giving a letter grade to this thing?
You got
it. Have to.
Frank's trying to wriggle out of giving a letter grade for this thing.
F- might be the worst one I've ever seen.
This guy.
No, I'll go F+ because for the Metal Gear Solid Delta footage.
Yeah, it's tough because there really wasn't any game I'm that interested in at all. It was a lot of new stuff we hadn't seen before.
Really bad.
But yeah, it's more, I don't know, probably like a C- for me.
C-?
Yeah.
That's so generous.
I mean, I don't know. Like, what is, like, again,
28 minutes.
This isn't an E3 showcase. This is showing off.
Exactly.
Like,
it was only 28 minutes. They didn't drag it out for 2 hours. It was beautiful. I'm going to give it a C- as well, just because of the QR codes. The QR bump.
I would have allowed like for a couple turds if there was some stuff that was really good, but there wasn't even anything that was like mind-blowingly good or I can't wait to play this game. Half of the games were already out or announced, and the ones that weren't looked like poo-poo. You guys are fucked. Okay. I don't know what's going on. Yeah, like I don't know if these guys are getting Xbox payola on the side or something. Like it does not make sense to me. at all. Where these positive, we gave like D's to everything for E3. Everything at E3 was better than this.
But that's the problem. Like we give D's to everything, so I'm like starting to feel like we gotta like. I don't know that our scale makes sense.
Look,
anymore.
when it's
like,
good, I'll tell you, I'll give it a good letter grade. It doesn't happen too often these days. All I can do is give the letter grade that it deserves, not worry about what we've given stuff in the past or. Sorry, Sean, that's not how it works. This is an F plus at
all I'm saying is, what's the point of having a letter scale where you only give Fs? Like, I mean, it's just
developers make a better video and I won't give it an F. It's that simple.
Maybe your expectations are not where they need to be then, because I think you're holding these things to pretty high standards.
Okay, I'm going to pretend you didn't just say that because we need to move on, because I could go down this road all day telling me my standards are too high. Are you fucking kidding me? I played Ghostbusters Rise of the Ghost Lord today. You think my standards are high? Okay, let's get into what we played. We're already way too long into this show. Sean, Alan Wake 2, the big release this week. First impressions, go.
Yeah, I mean, I'm liking it. As Huck alluded to, early on, it's very like you're detective investigating crime scenes. There's not a lot of combat, and it's a bit slow. I played the first 2 chapters. I think I kind of just did the first major boss fight, which I had some issues with. I found it kind of frustrating because it was, one of those boss fights where you can't really tell if you're doing damage or not. And there's like the boss kind of, you hit him a couple times and he'll disappear. Then he comes back. And I was like, okay, like, am I doing damage? Like, clearly when he disappears, I know I've done something right. But how many times is he going to keep doing this? And then there's parts where I was just like unloading on him like 10 shots and not doing anything. So I know you have to use the flashlight to flash him, and then it reveals a source point or something, but not always. So I was really confused, but eventually I got past it. So that has me a little worried about the game moving forward, but visually I think it looks amazing. I'm playing it on PS5. Sound design, all that stuff, super creepy. There are definitely a bunch of jump scares. They do this thing where it's like
an overlay.
Yeah, like an overlay. I don't know if it's actually live action footage, but yeah, like you'll just be walking along and all of a sudden something cuts in right in front of your face.
That was in the footage in the
trailer
partner showcase or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. So that stuff definitely is jumpy, I would say. And there's, with the detective stuff, there's a whole like case board. I feel like that was in some of the trailers, but it wasn't really, I don't know how much they talked about it. So it's like you're finding clues and then you got to find the right grouping to put them on the case board. And it really, I mean, so far, I don't know if there's not a lot of game there. Like it's just kind of like, okay, put this here, put this there. So it's not like there's a puzzle to figure out or anything. There's like a profiling section where like the main character just like starts going through her mind of like she has this ability to intuit what's going on and figure out where you got to go next. So there's that stuff, but I do like kind of the story, and I think this is similar to the first game where it's this idea that you're finding pages of this story that's being written, but it's like stuff that's happening to you as you're finding these pages. So the idea of like a horror story that's come to life, they're playing with that again. And I don't know. It just like, it doesn't feel, it feels different from the first game so far to me, from what I remember. And more like Heavy Rain was what I was most reminded of, surprisingly. So, but I'm going to keep playing it. I just, it seems like with the reviews and stuff, they've been very positive. It's kind of been put in the game of the year conversation. I don't know if I'm seeing it there yet personally, but I liked Control a lot. I liked the first Alan Wake a lot. I do like their experimentation with story, but I agree some of the dialogue and stuff is pretty corny. Some of the voice acting is a little over the top. I don't know if some of that's on purpose with regards to kind of noir and kind of crime fiction. But it is a bit corny for sure.
So maybe what I'm interested in more is gameplay. Seems like there's not a whole lot of quote unquote gameplay or action in what you've played.
No, so far it's been walking around, looking for clues, doing the case board stuff, talking to people, and then like I've only had really two main combat scenarios, and then a couple of like just people wandering through the woods that I had to fight, but not a whole lot. So
yeah, might hold off on this one for now. Probably check it out at some point. Okay, next up, Ghostbusters, Rise of the Ghost Lord, which Sean and I both played together. We used crossplay. Sean played this game on PSVR 2, and I played it on a Meta Quest 3. I bought a Meta Quest 3. I couldn't take it anymore. It was one of those purchases where I'm deliberating about it so much that it's more of a waste of time. Just go buy it and hate your life after, rather than think about whether you should buy it, and you'll just get the clarity you need. You can move on. Just a palate cleanse purchase. And immediately after hooking it up and just trying it out, I was like, I just wasted so much money on this thing. But because I wasted so much money, I was like, well, I got to use it. I need to play some VR games and do some stuff and see what's going on. And so I have been. So let's talk Rise of the Ghost Lord first. This is not a game that's making me glad I bought this thing. Sean, I did the tutorial. The tutorial's not bad. The base mechanics could be fun. Using the PKE meter and the trap was reasonably satisfying. And I will say, I don't know if it's the Quest 3 or not, but moving around free motion, like with the left and right stick, usually gives me motion sickness. I've played like 3 games like that today, and I haven't gotten motion sick in one of them. So maybe that's the tech. I'm not sure, because I definitely got sick playing some games on PSVR 2. So I'm not sure why, but I haven't had any motion sickness issues at all. And
you haven't busted out the rye yet. That's why.
Yeah, that's true. So then Sean and I did finally were able to connect for a co-op mission, and it was a disaster. Like the main, we did the exorcism, and you had to find these objects and place them to open up some boss. So the game is structured with like really small missions. So I like that. It's not necessarily a story-based thing. You do different missions with different design ideas, and that generally works. But the combat itself, the core element of this game and fighting ghosts, is deeply flawed in terms of knowing what's hitting you and what isn't, and getting downed. It basically borrows from Luigi's Mansion. So you use your proton packs to bring down the shield essentially of a ghost. And then once you grip them with your proton pack, you have to pull in a direction to drain their health. And that pulling is so unintuitive. Like, I don't know if I'm supposed to pull towards myself in 3D space. Like, what pulling away in 3D doesn't really make sense. Like, if you're fishing, you pull up and back towards yourself to pull, like, to fight something on a line. And I don't even know what way I'm supposed to be pulling half of the time. And then they escape, and then my proton pack loses power. And I'm just looking at this, and all I keep thinking is, you're making a Ghostbusters VR game. The first thing you do is prototype fighting a ghost and making sure that's fun. How is this bad? Like, this is the one thing you have to figure out before you decide to finish the game.
Yeah, I think part of it is, they had to, like, it is designed for co-op, but they have to make it possible to play single player. And that, like, I thought that was it was interesting, but it was kind of weird too, like with the tutorial, because it's like you've got the proton blaster in one hand, you got the trap in the other hand. So you're kind of shooting and then you're trying to throw out the trap with the other hand. Like it almost makes more sense if like some people are trying to hold the ghost in place and then somebody else is throwing out the trap. Like that kind of setup works.
Well, I kind of disagree because after you do the tutorial, I got like thrown into a mission with other people online. And the mission I did had a different feature where it's called like, I can't remember what it's called, like some kind of trap that someone has to be holding on to all the time. I got stuck holding this thing and I'm holding it and I'm watching the other people not know how to defeat a ghost. I'm like, you have to pull. None of them knew you had to pull the ghost to deplete its health. They just keep shooting it with the pack and they have no idea what's going on. I'm just saying, you have to pull. You have to pull. So I'm trying to put this thing down, grab it, pull, drain the health, and no one else picks it up. So I'm stuck holding this thing for the whole mission. And then eventually I'm like, someone else hold it. You don't know what you're doing in this game. And no one grabbed it and we failed the mission immediately. So I think it's designed for co-op play and there's also flaws surrounding that. But I don't think the game is beyond improvement. Like I think patches could make it a fun game and they have like some roadmap and DLC and season pass stuff that you can buy, which I did not buy, thankfully. But I would say I'm not writing the game off completely yet. I feel like they had to get it out for Halloween. And a lot of these VR games have a long tail and they do content updates for a long time. So could have some potential, but holy shit, that was rough, Sean. That was a rough go today.
Yeah. I mean, it was like you said, the tutorial and everything. I mean, I didn't have super high expectations for the game based on what few reviews are out there and videos we've seen, but it seemed like, okay, co-op, Frank got a Quest 3. I got to buy this thing. Like I have no choice. So
more like I bought the Quest 3 so Sean could play Ghostbusters. But yeah, so like the tutorial part, I was like, oh, this is actually better than I expected. And like I agree.
I thought, you know, like you said, like using the trap and all the other things, they kind of felt pretty good. But it was really that final boss because it had like, I guess like different limbs you had to pull off. And I kind of knew like, I like if you attach onto it and you pull away, at some point there's like an X button prompt that comes up to do like this blast thing. And it seemed like that was working at first, but when he was down to one limb, I kept doing that and it wouldn't affect him. And I had no idea. Like we just failed at some point. It was just like, you're done, game over.
And when you do it correctly, do it incorrectly. So you bring it down to a certain point, then you can grab it. And then it regenerates health so fast that I'm doing the lame part again to get to the part I don't know how to do yet. And it's just like infuriating that you get back to it again. I'm like, what am I doing wrong? The ghosts often get stuck in walls or behind objects that make it inconvenient to fight them or know what you're supposed to do. All they really need to figure out is making that pulling a better mechanic. Like the pulling is terrible.
Yeah, like in the tutorial, they're kind of teaching you have to pull the ghost towards the trap. So that's, you know, that's part of what you're trying to do when.
But you can't do that until you've depleted the health. Like you have to actually do the other pulling thing before you can pull them to the trap.
Right. Yeah, and then there's the whole thing like when you're downed, you have to high five your teammate to get revived, which I guess it seems like a fun thing to do, but the context seems strange to me. Like if you're down, I feel like somebody should have to come over to you and like pick you up.
They say down, but it's actually slimed, which I kind of like. So you can move, you just can't see or do anything. So I think that's a good, I prefer that you can both move rather than having to move to someone else. That's always infuriating in games. So I actually like the slimed idea.
Yeah, but it got weird because at a certain point I was running over to you and just like slapping your hand and you weren't, you know, like I didn't even have to say, hey, high five me. You're just holding on to your gun and I'm like hitting your hand and reviving myself. It was kind of strange.
I didn't know that. I usually did something.
Oh, okay. Maybe you were aware then, but Yeah, I don't know. We definitely got to try it again. But
I feel like I need to watch a video that tells me what to do because the game isn't.
yeah,
But it started off better than I anticipated, but the combat is rough.
yeah. But there are lots of other game modes too, so I don't know.
I was going to try the mixed reality one with the puffed minis or whatever, but I didn't.
I think that one is only on the Quest 3, actually. So
you lost out, dude.
Yeah, I know.
Huck, anything for you?
Not too much. I still kind of going through Miles Morales, still going through Cocoon. I played a little more Cocoon today. I was hoping to finish it. But I got to a point where there was 2 very clever puzzles that I was very impressed with. And I think I'm about an hour out from the end or so. And but those two puzzles in particular really impressed me with their design. And I really like them. So that game has grown on me more because of those 2 puzzles, but I still don't think it's game of the year potential like you were hyping up, Frank, but I do like it. And I put a little more time into Sea of Stars. That game is way bigger than I thought it was. So yeah, I'm barely scratching the surface still. I think I'm probably like 6 or 7 hours in, but I'm not even a quarter of the way through the game, I don't think. So it's a big game, bigger than I thought. I'm kind of just taking it slow too, so that doesn't help. Yeah, so nothing really big.
Okay. Sean, anything for you?
No, that pretty much covers it for me this week. I mean, I did play a little more of Mario Wonder, and I guess I was a little bit on the fence with certain things, and it's starting to get me. Like, I'm definitely seeing potential game of the year type feelings now. So we'll see.
I did not get a lot of Mario or Spider-Man time.
I should play. I did play more Mario Wonder as well. I'm now in the 3rd area, whatever that's called, and I'm liking it still. It's keeping me engaged. I find that the quickness of the levels is nice, and still the pacing of how they split up, your regular courses with your challenges, I think is well done. And I got to the boss fight, I think, or I guess the castle dungeon that I think, Frank, you were mentioning about the holding down when you grow tall, the shadow tall creature thing. I thought that was pretty well done, actually. I didn't really have too much issues with it. There's also the puzzle levels that you guys got to that you guys were complaining about. Now, I know you guys gave me the little tip off to go down in some of the like pits, which totally gave me an advantage when I got to that first one. So I felt like I cheated a bit on that. I don't know if I would have found that one, but I definitely found the 4 before the pit one. So I don't know what you're doing, Frank. You got to step up your game. But
yeah, I'm legit probably the most embarrassed I've ever been that you guys didn't have issues with that level and I did. I need to go back and just figure out what the hell was going on. So I'll just give a rundown of some other Meta Quest 3 stuff. So in terms of mixed reality, the free app on it is called First Encounters, and it kind of scans your room, and these little furry balls start breaking through the walls into your room, and you need to shoot them and gather them. What are the things in Star Trek? The quibbles?
Tribbles?
Tribbles. It looks like those, but they have like vibrant colors on them, and there's different colors for combos, kind of like Bust a Move or Puzzle Bobble, something like that. But I had a lot of fun with that. As a little mini game that came with it, I saw a lot more potential for mixed reality. And at the very least, sometimes mixed reality stuff can be less disorienting, where you don't have to keep realigning yourself and making sure you're not going to hit anything, because you can see your actual room. So simple games like that, I would look forward to more of those, to be honest. I tried the new Samba de Amigo. I don't think I've ever played one of those games, even though I remember having a Dreamcast and I didn't have the Maracas controllers, but everyone's like, it's the best with these controllers. And I always wanted to try one of those games. And this is like, okay, now I can try it with motion controls. And I had fun with it for sure. I did the just regular rhythm games and it was fun. And then the mixed reality mode, which wasn't as good, but still pretty cool. So I like that game quite a bit. And I dabbled with some other stuff I'd played before just to see how it ran on here. But lastly, I finally hooked it up to my PC using AirLink, which went a lot smoother than it has in the past, connecting it and getting it running on a game. And I tried Asgard's Wrath because all day, well, not all day, but for a portion of today, I was with customer support on Meta because I didn't get the offer for Asgard's Wrath 2 for free, which I'm supposed to get when I buy it. And so I'm like, well, maybe I'll play the first one. And we get really mad because I can't play the sequel and get ready to go. That was if I wouldn't have got that game for free, I don't think I would have bought it. I don't like that was part of the sweetening of the deal. So I went back and played the first, which only runs on PC. You have like it doesn't run on a Quest. You played this a bit, right, Sean?
No, I have it installed. I don't think I ever actually played
I did
it.
about an hour and a half or 2 hours, and I thought it was amazing. Like so good. There's a lot going on. You're a god and you can possess people. You can create these minions, or what do they call them? Something like people you can command that help you solve puzzles and have unique abilities. And then you can go into God mode and view the whole level you're on and manipulate it to solve puzzles, kind of like Moss. And what was the other giant, the game with the giant on PSVR?
Ghost Giant?
Ghost Giant, yeah. Where like, so it's got all these different modes. It looks great. It's like a full RPG. You do tons of stuff in it. Usually when I play these games, just attaching, getting weapons and putting stuff in a pouch, it always is infuriating. Everything just felt right with this game. So I actually think I'm going to return to it. I knew it got great reviews, but I was loving my time with it. And 2 hours flew by. Like it's really good.
Nice. That's good to hear.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think the second one looks as good, which is kind of fucked up, but they're making it for Quest instead of PC. So we'll see how it goes. But I need to, I think, spend some more time with this game because it's really good.
Random thing. Have you ever heard of the game Stormland?
No.
It's actually an Insomniac VR game. It was Oculus Rift. And it's been on my like Meta wish list forever. And then like last week or the week before, I had one of those 30% off coupons and I was like, oh, maybe I'll finally pick that up. And it's like delisted. It's not on the store anymore.
Really?
But it got great reviews. It's got 2-player co-op and it's weird. Like that's the only way to play it is Oculus Rift. Like it's not on Steam. It never came out on PSVR. And it seems like it's just going to be a dead game now because I think Stormland was for Oculus, but obviously Insomniac's now Sony, and unless they do a sequel or something, I don't know. So kind of bummed about that.
I'm not seeing it on there. That's messed up.
But yeah, it had really good reviews at the time. So
anything else for you guys?
Nope, that's it.
No.
Sean, any Oculus questions that I can convince you to buy one? Or
I mean, you haven't really said if it's like a huge upgrade to the Quest 2 or how you feel about that.
The biggest upgrade is just going to menus. I found that to be really slow and choppy. When I would go to the home and switch pages and stuff like that, it was slow. That whole process is improved, but other than that, it looks a bit better. And like I said, I have no sickness issues at all. And the controllers don't have the circular, I don't know what they're called. Like they're much more streamlined and easier to use. So that stuff's good. I'm liking it quite a bit.
Cool.
I actually played one more thing. I finally tried Laika Age Through Blood, which came a couple weeks ago. It's an indie Metroid-like, and the hook, I think it got a 9 on IGN. I didn't play too much, but the hook is you ride a motorcycle, and it's a Trials, like Trials HD, those types of controls with the motorcycle. And I'm just starting to incorporate shooting, deflecting, and the way you recharge certain mechanics is by doing tricks. So to get your deflect ability back, you do a forward roll. To reload your guns, you do a back roll. So it's kind of building this interesting system of using abilities and driving your motorcycle well to explore and to recharge abilities. So I think it's got a lot of potential. I've just scratched the surface, but it does feel like a game. The controls are so unique that you have to immerse yourself in this game completely, play it beginning to end, because it's unlike anything else, which is also what makes it cool. I dig the art style. So if you're a Trials fan and kind of like Metroidvanias, you have to check this game out.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to pick this up at some point. It like reminded me of that Turbo Kid demo that I tried, which I guess that game was supposed to be out this year and got delayed. But
did the bike ride like a Trials thing though, like physics, like where you have to.
It wasn't quite like that, but it had elements of it. So, but yeah, I saw the IGN review too, and that definitely had me more excited for it. So I'll be checking this one out.
Yeah, it's cool. All right, I think that's it. We went way too long. I was not anticipating.
Yeah.
This long of a show. Maybe we'll have some new MetaQuest stuff next week. Is there a big release this week?
I feel like there were a couple.
RoboCop Rogue City and
RoboCop. I know Talos Principle 2. I'll definitely be picking that up. I don't know if that's really a big release. I thought there was something else. I can't remember now. Oh, WarioWare comes out. Not really.
And then I think shortly after that, it'll be Call of Duty and Mario RPG. So still some big releases for the holiday season.
Who's checking out Silent Hill Ascension on Halloween?
What's that?
I don't know. It's like some Silent Hill game where they're going to stream something live and people can put stuff in the chat to affect the outcome of the game or something. I really don't know.
Was not even aware of it.
You're a Silent Hill fan. You got to check it out.
All right. So thanks for listening or watching on youtube.com/GameJunk. Please check it out. Like, subscribe, leave a comment. And you can find Sean on X at FilmJunk. Andrew is My Angry Commute and Equilibrium Sis. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.